We've had good practices. Yesterday, they're high-spirited. I didn't think there was much of a hangover from our disappointment. So it's a fine line, trying to better yourself, but then also understanding the competition that awaits in the next game. So I was proud and pleased with our effort yesterday in practice.
And then, I guess you could just speak to Baylor and their length and just what all those guys have going on. Might be the longest team in the league this year.
Yeah, they got another really good team. I think Coach Drew's been there. This might be his 14th year, and I think in the 13 years there's been, maybe 6 winning seasons, a couple 500 seasons, and 5 losing seasons. And I think this year, to me, from the outside looking in, this season, the expectations are to try to win the Big 12. They've already got 3 road wins. They're projected as a number 1 seed in today's NCAA tournament rankings. Like Matt mentioned, I think they're in the top 5 again in the country. So they have our full attention and respect, and I think it's a team that's put together that fits the coach's personality. The pieces fit, and I think this is a team that could play on the last Monday.
You've also kind of alluded to just bringing consistency, being able to, string wins together. That was obviously something that you guys weren't able to do against Oklahoma State. But whether it results in a win or loss, how do you just have that mentality every night that you want to see from the guys to be able to have a shot to win, no matter who you play in the Big 12?
Well, eventually that's what recruiting is. That's our culture, getting guys that understand how to win, want to win, willing to do anything possible to make it done. Don't accept anything but winning. The challenge when you build a program is you're bringing so many different personalities and backgrounds and everybody together, to try to get it done. Like, Wednesday's opponent, Baylor, again, is one of the best teams in the country. They didn't have a winning record in the Big 12 until Coach's 5th year. And so, the Big 12, it's a different beast. You can do a lot of things great yourself. You can improve your team. You can improve your players. And that doesn't necessarily mean the wins are going to come in this league. So it's a real double-edged sword. It's about you, but it's also about the competition. In this year's conference race, it's still a little bit early. We're about to make the turn, but I've been in the league a long time, and I've followed it for a long time. I think this is the best it's ever been from top to bottom. If there is a bottom team, I'd like to know who it is. Some people might perceive us as that right now, but I know that we're a good team. We've shown that we're able to beat anybody on any given night, but we've also shown that we can get beat by anybody. So it's just it's a thing you can't do overnight, and patience isn't one of my positive things. It's not something I'm good at, but this job and this level and this league require it, and it's just it gets back to the day-to-day grind. And so as disappointing as the last game was, you got to get back to work, and you got to give yourself a chance in the next game.
You mentioned that turn that's upcoming ahead, but looking back to last year, this group was in a similar spot where their back was against the wall. They had to reel off some wins late in order to really have a shot to make the NCAA tournament. And I don't know if you want to say they're in the same spot this year, but obviously each win is just that much more meaningful, it seems like, down the stretch. How do you just create that same type of mentality? Can you lead on last season at all to say, hey, this is a spot that you guys are in similar to last year?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I wasn't here last year. Some of the players weren't. Every season is a totally new expectation. I know we got ourselves in a situation where we were 3-3 the other day and had a home game to get over the top. So I think as much as I respect last year's team and coaches, and I watch a lot of film from last year's team because our current players played on that team, I don't think you compare any 2 journeys. They're just totally different. And then again, it's about everybody else in the league too. I think last year in the league there were some teams that were a little beat up, and there were some teams that kind of got away. As we sit here today, every team in the Big 12 is still on the NCAA tournament. I mean, you saw what Oklahoma done the last couple of games, and I mean the Oklahoma State team, we saw that firsthand. That's a team that can win 3 or 4 in a row and get themselves right back in conversation. So I think the league's as good as it's ever been, and I don't have any frame point from comparing last year's team to this year's team.
What have you seen from Baylor on the defensive end? I know now this year they're mixing in the man more than they have in the past few years.
Yeah, exactly. Seem to be playing about half and half. They play their zone after they score, and they play their man to man when they get a when the other team gets a rebound, with a little exceptions. But that's basically how they're playing. So it ends up being about 50-50. I think that the personnel fits the program and coaches' personality better than ever. I think, for example, I thought last year's power forward, was it Gathers? No. Yeah, he's with the Cowboys now. Special college player, but a different player, not the length that Baylor kind of sets up their team to have. This year's team, and I'm not talking about Gathers, like if he has a brother or cousin or somebody that wants to come to Texas Tech, the office phone number is 742-7600. But I think that this year's team, the players fit the personnel. They want to be long, they're long. They want to be quick, they're quick. They want to have multiple people can shoot. They want to shoot. And the Baylor teams are always teams that have a lot of perseverance. They don't ever get too low. They'll lose a game and they'll win 3 straight you didn't think they would. And it's the personality of the coaching staff, steady. And so I think this year's team is just it's a perfect match. Like in my opinion, again, the outside looking in, I think this is a team that's built to try to win the Big 12, whereas other teams, maybe try to get in the tournament. I mean, he's had 2 teams make the Grade 8 that weren't really in the fight for the Big 12 championship the last month. But I think this team is different. Why do I think that? The players, they've already won 3 road games. It's just a really good Baylor team. It's the best Baylor team I've ever seen.
And then on your side with the defense, they've got Motley, who's like 6'10", and then the Luala Chul guy who's like 7 foot. How do you defend those 2 big guys down low?
I don't know. I just need to figure it out by what time's the game? 7 o'clock. Yeah, by about 6:30 Wednesday, we got to have a plan. But the 2 things, you got to kind of pick and choose whether you want to go double the post or whether you don't. And that comes with positives and negatives both ways. I do believe that with good teams and good players, you can't let teams get into a rhythm. One of the biggest things I learned in professional coaching from those great players was you can't let guys get into rhythms. That's why in a pro game you'll just see a hard foul on a shooter on purpose to try to get a guy to rhythm, or they'll just run a guy at somebody. It's the same thing I think with Baylor's size inside. We can't play him one-on-one the whole game, but I'm not sure we can double him the whole game either, so we'll just have to mix it up. Then on the other end, they're such a force defensively. And I think the execution of running your man offense and your zone offense sometimes from possession to possession is challenging. And so that's kind of the biggest thing with players. You got to be able to play one way, one possession, and one way the other. And that, of course, that's their objective defensively. So that's a real challenge offensively for us.
Kind of seemed like after Oklahoma State, maybe the biggest thing that you might be challenging your players with is just bringing that fire or intensity every night. I mean, is that how you're sort of challenging them this week headed into Baylor?
I think so. I think not just because of a loss against Oklahoma State, but just in general. We've got some guys on our team that are great guys. My 9-year-old Margot, I would let her go spend the weekend with any one of our players, and I wouldn't blink a second. We got good guys. But sometimes in the competition, in the heat of this level, we need a little bit of more grit. I'm looking for some of these nice guys we have to find another level of competitiveness. And, I think it's not about like having that fire all the time. It's about getting yourself ready to play. Some of the toughest, most competitive people I've ever been around are not flashy show people. There's different ways to compete, and some of the toughest guys I know don't talk a lot. And some of the most competitive people I know don't have a lot of flash. And so we've just got some guys that have to individually figure out how to get themselves ready to play every night. And I think that's where we are as a program right now. We just again, we're 3-3. Is win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1. Now we're 3-4, and until you can get to that level where you understand that every game is the biggest game on your schedule. Now our guys will say that because they hear it so much, but until they really grasp it and believe it and understand it, it's difficult to take the next step.